What is going on, you guys? AK40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven, and today I'm going to show you guys how to install a custom faceplate and buttons, i.e. your face buttons, analog sticks, and D-pad on an Xbox One controller from home and save yourself some bucks. Let's do it. Alrighty guys, over here at the Stormtrooper desktop, as always, going to go ahead and slap myself in here. And first of all, I want to cover all the tools and materials that you're going to need for this build. And first of all, installing the faceplate itself, I would give a 1 out of 10 wrenches. It is the absolute easiest thing you can do, especially on a licensed Microsoft controller. Sony PS4 controllers are a little bit more complicated. I would give that probably a 3 out of 10 wrenches. And then doing the face buttons here, I'm going to go ahead and give that about a, let's give it a 6 out of 10 wrenches. You don't have to do any soldering or anything like that, but you do need to disassemble all the way down to the main board, which can be a little tricky if you're not used to taking controllers apart. I love to tinker. I started building custom controllers about 2 years ago for myself and my buddies, and it became lucrative and kind of became a small business, and now you can check me out on Facebook and Instagram. I make controllers like this, and this, and this. Anyway, what you're going to need here, what you're absolutely going to need, is a candidate controller to work on. We have a stock Xbox One controller here, or a 1S controller. You're going to need a T8 screwdriver and a smaller T12 for the board itself. A couple optional things you might want is a little pry tool like this, or you can just use your fingernails. And then a little set of tweezers like this is really good to have. You don't need it, but it does help a lot. I personally have a little toolkit like this that I use every time I disassemble a controller for repairs and or customization, and I'll have a link to this in the description below, as well as some really nice small magnetized tools that I like to use. Alright, then you're going to need your custom components. This is from a company called Extreme Rate. They've been around for almost a decade making custom components and accessories for Microsoft and Sony products. I'm not a huge fan of this. I think I purchased it accidentally, but it's a very vibrant, bright lime green. I love the material though. It's a soft touch rubberized material, so it's not hard plastic like this. It feels fantastic in the hand, and I think it's going to go really good with the button selection, which I went with, which is this nice brushed aluminum. These are all steel or metal components. They are not plastic, so these are little aluminum bullets, and then also the analog sticks and D-pad are also gold painted metal. So I think that's going to look really good through here, honestly. And then this is just episode 1 of an ongoing build series for an Xbox One controller. I'm going to show you guys how I personally deck controllers out from the ground up, so you guys can do it yourself. It's not the easiest thing to do, I'm going to tell you guys that right now. And when you try and get into more advanced stuff like hydro dipping and soldering the board to add paddles and stuff like that, it gets a little tricky, and that's why I have a business doing it. Anyway, for this though, it's going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Spoiler alert, next episode we're going to be painting and hydro dipping the back shell, as well as these bumpers, and yeah. So, to get the faceplate off, very easy. You're going to use either your pry tool or just your good old-fashioned fingernails, and you're going to pry off these hand grip covers here. The first time that you do this on a controller, it's going to be a little bit harder, but as you've disassembled the same controller multiple times, it's going to become a little bit less brittle and hard to take apart. This one's never been disassembled before, so you gotta lose a little muscle to get it off, but it's not the hardest thing in the world. And like I said, once you get it off, come on baby girl, woo. It does definitely help to have this little pry tool, because you can get it in there. There we go. Now we're cooking with that bacon grease. Get your fingernail in there and pull up. Baby. Woo. Man, so they're on there pretty good the first time you take them off, but you know, now that that's been taken off and that seal's been broken between the shell, it's going to be much easier from now on. Can't be afraid to get a little aggressive with it, but you obviously don't want to break it either. It is plastic components. There we go. Cooking with that peanut oil, boys. Now, that's going to reveal these T8 screws. There's 2 in each hand grip, and there's 1 behind the sticker. Removing the sticker voids your warranty, but who gives a shit, because Microsoft hardly ever validates their warranties for a stock controller anyway. I mean, for God's sake, if they don't do it for their $160 Elites that are breaking right out of the box, why would they do it for a $40 controller that you probably picked up at a flea market? Alright, rant over. Go ahead and remove this sticker. If you want to keep it intact and reinstall it, you can, but I mean, honestly, are you really going to pay to ship your controller, your busted controller, to Microsoft, wait, 14 to 20 days for them to get around to working on it, just for them to charge you to fix a controller that broke on their watch? It's just, I personally wouldn't even waste my time and energy doing that. But if you would like to do that, you can reinstall the sticker so your warranty remains intact. However, they take one look at that custom faceplate and face buttons, they're going to know you took it apart anyway, so it really doesn't even matter. Take your T8 screwdriver, remove the 5 screws that I had mentioned. Alright, so it's nice to have a little magnetized dish or tray, or even just a little cup or something like this you can throw your screws in so you don't lose your hardware. I personally have a baggie with like hundreds of these, but the average person that's not weird probably won't. So now that you have those 5 screws removed, the shell comes straight up like that. Drop the new one on like that. Holy shit, that's scorching my corneas. And then you just replace the 5 screws and pop the hand shells back on and call it a day. Like, that's how easy it is to change a faceplate on a Xbox controller. Sony, not so much. Anyway, but we're going to take it a step further today and go ahead and do the D-pad, face buttons, and all that other shit. So, analog sticks just pull straight up like this. Let's get it out of the back shell. It'll just come right out like that. We will be hydro dipping this in the next episode, so make sure you boys subscribe so you catch that episode. To get the D-pad out, just get a fingernail up underneath this little metal ring. Comes off like that. D-pad will pop out like that. Alright, we're going to flip her over so we can see her from back like this. You're going to need your T12, which is the smaller screwdriver, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. The only ones you need to worry about right now is this one and this one by the Rumble Force motors. Let's go ahead and get that out. Again, I'm not practicing what I preach. I should be putting all these little screws in a dish or something, but if I drop them on the floor and suck them up in the vacuum or my dog eats them, like I said, I've got hundreds of them, so it really doesn't matter. Alright, so as you see, this Rumble Force motor just fell out like that and it's just hanging and dangling. If you do want to keep your Rumble Force motors, then I would recommend being careful, maybe putting a little piece of tape there to hold it so it doesn't just fall out, which usually happens pretty easily. But you know what I like to do is remove the Rumble Force motors just like that. You can rip them directly off where they're soldered on the board. I only do this with Microsoft Xbox controllers because these are completely pointless. They take up a third of the weight of the controller. And also, you already have these bomb-ass haptic feedback motors in the triggers, which to me create more of a vibration sensation and more game integration. Alright, put my fake glasses back on. So anyway, like I was saying, when you're doing something like a racing game or something and you're on hard braking, the left trigger is going to be giving you a little stuttering feedback. When you're, on the gas, the right trigger is going to be doing stuff for you. So these Rumble Force motors are really just not necessary. They're just taking up a shitload of weight and sucking up more battery life. And of course, Xbox has been using AA batteries since 1946 because they don't want to do rechargeables. So I just take these and I chuck them in the trash, honestly. Alright, so we've got this backboard separated from the main board. Now be careful, because when you separate the two, your 3.5mm headphone jack is going to be a loose goose, so you want to set that along with the rest of your hardware so you don't lose it. We'll be putting that in later. But anyway, the board just has these 2 screws here, and then there is a male end or erect end right there, and an opening or a female end there that mesh together and hold those 2 boards together. Alright, so now with those apart, we are going to need to remove this front board as well. We did the backboard like Michael Jordan. Now we're gonna, I almost said Michael Jackson. And now we need to do this front board. So use your T12 screw to screw, not yourself, but screw this, this board loose. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 T12 screws that you need to get off this bad boy here to be cooking with peanut oil, so that's what we're going to do. Honestly, when you've been janking the Johns on controllers for as long as I have, and you've been inside the guts of so many different types of controllers, I mean, literally I can be working on these while I'm staring into your eyes. It's not an issue. All right. One last screwy dooey. All right, now the board is loose, which is the way that I like them. So pull it out like that. I mean, I don't really condone pulling out, but in this case, we need to. We need to. So once you do that, just be careful. You got all these loose wires in here and stuff. Make sure that you just kind of support them a little bit like that. You're going to see this rubber gasket in here, or this grommet or condom, if you will. Just peel that bad boy off. Flip this on its ear like that, and all your face buttons are going to come spilling out. So I'm going to show you guys what these stock face buttons look like. So you can only put them in one way. You can't put in A where, you know, B should go or anything like that. And also they can't go like upside down or anything like that. They have these little heavy metal. They have these little plastic prongs that line up with little slots in the actual faceplate, so you can't really fuck it up too bad. Same thing with the share and options buttons. They make these pretty dummy proof, so that's good. You can remove the bumpers and triggers to get a little bit more access to the board if you need, but I like it nice and tight in there, so that's just what I'm going to do. So these are our face buttons here. We'll see the quality of these. I actually haven't gone with this company before for face buttons, so I don't know if these are made out of paper mache or if they are made out of Kevlar steel. They do feel really durable. You've got your 4 face buttons, and then it looks like you also have your center button, your Xbox home button. Sick. It says Spear 50 caliber AE on there. It's pretty badass. Alright, so we're just going to drop these on in. It is a lot easier to get to these, especially the home button, if you do remove the bumper, but I love a challenge, so I'm going to make it hard on myself and leave the bumpers in place. So I got these little tweezers here. I usually do other things with these, but I'm going to go ahead and use these to help navigate that into the hole. Alright, it should be in there. It's a tight squeeze. I don't like the way that fits in there, but you know what? We'll make it work. I think after we press it a couple times, it'll kind of break it in. So all the buttons except for B are these little stubby shorties here, these little chode buttons. But B is a long boy, so you always know that B is this one because it's super long. It's the way they designed the controller. Alright, this cheap son of a bitch kit did not include the pause and option buttons. That'd be cool if they were golded out too, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. So, again, you can't put these in wrong because one of them has 2 prongs, the other one has 3, and they have to line up just right with those holes. So, you can't put it in wrong and you can't put it in the wrong hole. I wish the rest of life was so simple. Alright, so we've got all those bad boys in. And we're going to return this rubber grommet to its rightful spot in life, like that. And once this is fixed into place, you'll be able to turn this controller upside down if you so wish without your face buttons falling out and, you know, all that other good shit. Now, the next step is very important. It's a good little bro tip because I've made this mistake on so many goddamn builds. You want to make sure, before you tighten in this board, that these face buttons are all actuating properly. Alright, so I'm going to leave the bumpers in place, but this little center piece here was just really fucking up my day. It's making it super hard to access this home button here, and yeah, I just don't need that in my life. So I removed that bad boy. Now we are going to set the primary board into place. She's nice and tight. Jesus Christ. It's a taut fit. There we go. There we go. My goodness, this was a fickle bee. All right, so we're in there. Now, like I said, with that pro tip, boys, before you tighten the shit in, see, that button's not seated correctly. Shit, neither is that one. All right. So, this is why we do this check first, because if you tighten in the board and these buttons aren't seated correctly, then you're just going to have to take it apart again, and it's a huge waste of time, and it's infuriating. So, I'm going to go ahead and remove the rubber again, and that's why it wasn't pressing properly. It's not seated. Here we go. This is a lot easier with the bumpers and the triggers off. I don't know why I'm not doing that. It's much, much easier. I don't know why I'm trying to do it this way. Fuck! Alright, you know what? Fuck it. Bumper's coming off. Bam. Trigger staying on. Bumper's coming off. Alright, now we are cooking with bacon grease. I don't know what I was thinking, boys. Just take the bumpers off. It's that easy. They pull right off. You know what? I think that's why I didn't use this home button in a previous build, was because I had tried to utilize it and it was just... It doesn't press very good. That's weird. Maybe if I sanded it down a little bit or something it'd work, but in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and use the standard home button. What I do like about these is that they're translucent, so light comes through them, and I have sticker kits that go over them to add a custom little graphique to the light. It's a really sweet little badass effect. I'll slap one on at the end of this video so you can enjoy that. Okay, so the B button is not going to depress yet until you get the secondary board on there because of this rubber gasket that sticks out a little bit further. However, all the other face buttons, like I said, you want to give them the old college press before you tighten them down to make sure that everything's super square. And it is. It's extremely square. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this board down after I drop that screw. Get a good taste of the metal, make sure that it's high quality. Sorry if you guys hear a little background noise. I think my neighbors are playing with their little snot machine outside. Oh. As I screw the ever-living fuck out of this board, I feel it's a very good time to ask you guys to subscribe. I feel like, well, I don't feel like, I know by looking at my analytics that 96% of people that watch and like my videos aren't subscribed, so I don't understand it, because if you like something, you'd probably want to see more of it and know when new videos come out and stuff like that. So show your support. I genuinely do appreciate it. And it's also good for you too, because like I said, when I drop a hot new video, you guys will be the first to know. In order to do that, you kind of have to double subscribe because YouTube's analytics are retarded. So you need to subscribe and then smash the notification bell, as people like to say. All right. Holy shit, they got me right in the jiddlies. Sweet, we're now cooking with that bacon grease, boys. Now you're going to take this back board after screwing in the 5T12 screws to the back board. You are going to find the hole, and you are going to insert your analog sticks into said hole, like that. And you'll see your battery prongs are going to fork themselves through there. And once it's forked that, you can scissor yourself and you can screw in these next two T12 screws to mesh the boards together. Now this is a good spot here if you guys want to have utilization of your headphone jack to remember that it fell out. These metal prongs here, they go upwards and you just basically drop it in this little slot like this, and then you're going to press the male and female ends of the both board sets together like that. They're going to mesh together. You got your headphone jack sticking out there just right for you guys. You're going to screw it in, and once you've screwed and you're fully screwed, you are going to basically put the two shells back together, and we're going to call it a day. We've got ourselves what most people would consider a custom controller. I mean, I don't. I consider it a lightly modded controller because I'm, you know, cuckoo, but yeah, it's going to look pretty dope. Between my dog is out there having a fucking conniption. I'm sorry, guys. Also, there's this little tiny shitty button here that's for pairing or syncing your controller, and this falls out a lot, as it did with this one. So basically it goes in this little slot here just to the left of the Xbox home button, and it's kind of a bitch to make sure that it stays in place. It needs to go through one of the holes here, and then it needs to go through another hole here, Gunner, shut the fuck up. People are trying to record in here. Damn dogs. You see how rude they are, boys? Anyway, back in it to win it. So, now that we have that on, you're going to put on the centerpiece here, which is the real centerpiece of this cake. Bam. It's going to snap on like that, lock in with these two front prongs. Now we're in it. We can go ahead and drop this into the back shell like that. Make sure that your triggers are depressed so that way they actually line up. And bro tip, you need to make sure these two metal prongs here for the battery, because Microsoft's never going to get away from using disposable batteries. You need to make sure that those are lined up like that. Bam, triggers pull good, bumpers click good. She's whipping and flicking good. Now, install that front shell. Oh, nope. Wrong again, boys. We need that D-pad and we need that analog stick in there. So the D-pad goes in a little finicky. They can only go in one way. Unlike a PS4 controller that goes in any way, these will only go in one way. There's a flat cutoff end, and that goes towards the bottom like that. All right, once you've got that, take your metal ring that locks it into place, and that just snaps it and holds it in place. Now for your analog sticks here, this is real tricky. What you do is you push them on. Now they can only go on one way, one direction, like the band. I see this is becoming quite a trend, as you guys can tell. You can't really fuck this stuff up too bad, unless you're doing some soldering or something crazy like that. God damn, that looks amazing. Like Midas's touch, like he just came here and just painted it gold. That looks amazing. All right, cool. Drop that. Oh my God, that actually looks pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of the lime green, but it's not bad. And I feel like once we hydro dip the back and everything, it's gonna look like a real McBanger. All right, sweet. Now you're just gonna take those 5 T8 screws from the beginning, return them to their place of origin. And I don't mean Origin Games. They haven't had a good title since 1946. Since the Civil War. Back when General Custer and Theodore Roosevelt were in the esports game. Like I said, got to make sure those battery prongs line up just right. Damn you, Microsoft. Use rechargeables. It's 2020. I feel like most people that have Xbox controllers, what they do is just end up going to Amazon for 20 bucks and buying a rechargeable kit that comes with a base and like 2 rechargeable batteries. At least that's what I did, because you save a small fortune in drug money if you can just recharge your batteries instead of having to buy AA's. But Jesus Christ. Speaking of Jesus Christ, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Sons of Anarchy before, but they say Jesus Christ and Christ so much. There's actually a fun little drinking game where you take a shot for every time they say Jesus Christ, and you take a half shot when they say Christ. Or maybe it's a shot for one and a double for the other. I don't know. I don't drink anymore. But basically, by the end of... You'll never make it through the first season. You will be literally face down in a pile of your own piss. They say Christ and Jesus Christ a lot. Like a lot. That's their go-to to express their feelings. Oh, there's a lot of schmutz on my lens. God damn it. Alright, so I had to put the Y button back on there because it was all janked up. All the rest of these work fantastic. Loving it so far. Alright, it's looking pretty good, but needs a little bit of icing on the old cum cake. So what we're going to do is put on one of these translucent stickers that lets light bleed through the Xbox home button. And just adds a little pizzazz, a little flavor, if you will. Here we go, boys. It's for my 11-year-old stepdaughter, so I thought some weed leaves would be appropriate. Oh, focus. Focus. There we go. Hell yeah, brother.